looks like something that she just snapped as she was going along and did just a little bit of processing, but she really goes in and fine-tunes her stuff so precisely and so exacting that it's amazing.
So, welcome to my home away from home. This is my office. As you can see, this is my paper office on this side. And then as you come into the office, you pass through this little gate, and this is my digital office. So this is where I do a lot of the work that I have for class. Here's some of my artwork. Being an artist to me means to share my visions with others. And as I said earlier, I'm an observer. And so I also believe in recording what I observe. And I want to share those so that discussions and interaction can come up from those observations that I've had. My mentor in this particular field, my mentor was a woman named Joan Truckenbrode, who was my teacher and mentor at the School of the Art Institute. Since then, everyone is my mentor. As I always say to my students, and they laugh at me sometimes when I say this, but I learn more from my students than they'll ever learn from me. And so that interaction between someone learning, someone who knows it, but someone who still has the curiosity of trying to understand what everybody's so concerned about. And so I don't have one mentor. I had one that started me on my path, but ever since then it's everyone I come into contact with. What inspires me is the newness of things, how things change. That's one of the reasons why I came into this field, is because I get bored easily and I'm very curious. And so what inspires me now is the changes that are happening in the field that I've known and loved for the last 30 years. Both. Absolutely both. Screen, because I work with the screen primarily because I believe I am a wizard with light. I believe in bending and changing and adapting little points of light on the screen. It's the most direct experience I can have with my art. However, I believe in having it output somehow. And so whether or not it's in paint or it's in print, for me it's important not just to have it associated with the electronic device, but to have it be able to be in the world on its own, in the light. So you need both. Nothing is lost, things are changed. One of the things that I've found in the last 20 years is that when people interact with their mobile devices and the internet more than they do with print materials, as they used to. However, you still have to be connected. So the difference between digital and print, or having it on the screen or in your hand, depends upon your circumstances. And that's one of the things, I've changed the name of my business from Digital Educational Visual Atelier to Digital Ecological visual atelier, because what I'm really curious in seeing in the next year or so is the different means that we can offer to the world of how to be able to interact with these computers and handheld devices and everything else without being on the grid. So one of my favorite commercials right now, even though it's kind of sad, one of my favorite commercials right now is the one where the fellow has trained his hamsters to row to generate the electricity. And those are the kinds of things that I'm most interested in right now. How can we generate enough green energy to make all of our machines work so that we're not dependent on the grid in order to show our work to the world? Anything that has to do with mathematics. Math has been something that I've been interested in since a very young age, and a lot of my artwork has to do with either the phi, pi, Fibonacci numbers, golden rectangles, spirals. So anything that has to do with that type of mathematics being represented visually rather than in formula interests me the most. It is my life, both teaching and creating. I spend many hours living my life, but almost all of them have something to do with art and design. What's most important is for students to understand that even though they might not have the tools right now, is that what is most important for them is to become problem solvers. And that's not just in the classroom, that's in the world also. And whether or not you're good or you're bad at using software is less important with being able to solve the problem that's posed. And so that's what most of the projects that I assign in my classrooms are very important. It's important for you to understand a concept that's trying to be communicated, but it's also important for you to figure out how to solve the individual small problems that will solve the largest concept problem. My first show, my first one-person show, that was offered to me many years ago at a gallery in Chicago. And the planning, the creating, the installation, the opening, the interaction with the public was something I will never forget. Follow your passion. What you need to do is, there are so many different aspects of visual arts right now, is that you need to find one that you're passionate about right now. That doesn't mean that you're going to stay passionate about that same area for the rest of your life, but you need to follow the things that really get you up in the morning and really give you reason to interact with your world. And I think that's the best advice I could give anybody. The best quote I love is one by Steve Jobs: "Simplify complexity." And that's what I believe to do in life and in my work.
You know, I see that same energy that she brings to her teaching and, you know, to her professional role. I see that energy in her, in, you know, just private interactions too, just as a friend. I think that she's, you know, just somebody who's deeply interested in so many things and people, and so you know, just enthusiastic about all of that stuff. So it's kind of an infectious kind of enthusiasm.
Irene is probably one of the most generous and kind person that I know. She's just is willing to give and mentor anyone with just about anything that you ask from her, without wanting or thinking about what she's going to get in return. She just naturally comes from within, that she just wants to be involved in helping people learn.
She's a deep intellectual and a conceptualist, and she brings that out in others through her work because there's a kind of significant intelligence to it. So quite wonderful.